Newly revealed emails show then Trump campaign chairman Steve Bannon talked to longtime Trump advisor and political operative Roger Stone about WikiLeaks and its plan to release Democratic emails stolen by Russia just before the 2016 election.
We begin with the looming existential threat that hangs over this entire administration. That would be the Russia investigation, and specifically this latest reporting from the New York Times that may further connect the dots between the Trump campaign for president and Russia. This is new reporting about veteran Trump advisor Roger Stone, friend of the president for 30 years, and his links to WikiLeaks and the Trump campaign during 2016. In an interview on Wednesday, Mr. Stone insisted he did nothing more than posture, bluff, hype based on WikiLeaks' Twitter feed and miscellaneous tips. Stone has issued similar denials about alleged ties to WikiLeaks.
We hope to be publishing every week for the next 10 weeks all the U.S. election-related documents to come out before November 8th.
A load every week going forward. Stone says his email was based on public information. During his media event, Assange promised more WikiLeaks material was coming.
Was Stone someone who was simply trying to boast about contacts with Assange and WikiLeaks to give him extra relevance, to give him better currency in the Trump campaign and around the president, or was he truly in touch with them? Was he truly a cutout, truly a conduit? And the campaign wasn't really sure. Several people from the campaign, including Bannon, have told Mueller that Bannon represented himself as in touch with Assange and with WikiLeaks.
The person that knows more than Roger Stone even realizes is Mueller. Why is that? We're talking about WikiLeaks. We're talking about the Russian intelligence service. The U.S. intelligence community has those entities covered like a blanket. That means that Mueller has the answers to the test. He has both ends of the equation. So Stone needs to make a decision. I'm either going to lie to the FBI and be charged with that, among other charges, or I'm going to realize that they have the answers to the test. They know the other end of the communications. And so when you get to this point in an investigation, Brian, it's coming to the end. They're asking you questions to see if you're going to lie about what they already know to be true.
On the same day that Julian Assange makes this big announcement in early October of a big document dump ahead, Steve Bannon emails Roger Stone to ask him, what is this all about? So clearly the campaign chairman of the Trump campaign saw Stone as some kind of a conduit.
So you're saying the connection's not there. What I don't get is this. How does the special counsel not reach out to you? Just your bizarre coincidences, I'll give you a generous read on that until we get into it, with what was going to happen with WikiLeaks and Guccifer and the emails.
I saw an interview where you said you had, quote, a lot more material that you might release, and that there very well may be a lot more things out there.
We have more material related to the Hillary Clinton campaign. It is correct to say that.
How have you not been called in?
Well, first of all, the claim that I knew in advance about either the alleged hacking of the Democratic National Committee, since the DNC never let FBI examine their server, we're not even certain they were hacked. But the idea that I had advanced knowledge is speculation. It's
speculation based on you, though, Roger.
Supposition.
You put it out there.
Yes, and I'm a political animal. But Julian Assange came here at CNN in June of 2016 and said, I've got a treasure trove of documents about Hillary Clinton.
But you said you were talking to him, meeting with him. You made this.
No, I actually never said that. I've obviously produced my passport, airline records, customs records.
So that the meeting couldn't have been possible.
Well, I was in Los Angeles, and I think I proved that. Organizations. The point being that in April of 2016, the Panama Papers exposed the shady business dealings of John and Tony Podesta, and that is my reference. Nowhere do I predict that John Podesta's emails would be hacked, because I have no advance notice.
No, but you did say his time is coming.
Well, because Paul Manafort...
And then it came, by the way.
Yes,
that's the part,
yes,
is that the truth winds up being a foil for you.
All public information. Look, this is an effort to distract from the content of the WikiLeaks disclosures were incredibly embarrassing to the Clinton campaign.
Just talking about what Roger Stone knew during the election with regard to his communications with WikiLeaks, but Roger Stone himself hasn't been subpoenaed or interviewed. That really makes you wonder, well, why is he the last step here?
So we got We now think that Julian Assange, that there's an indictment somewhere sealed against him. His lawyer's on television saying, no one's talked to us. Roger Stone, no one's talked to Roger Stone. Another person no one's talked to, Don Jr., that not been called in, had no interactions with the special prosecutor so far. So wouldn't you think that right now that those three people, one of whom we believe has an indictment under seal, and two of whom have looked like targets who everyone wonders, is Roger Stone going to get indicted? Is Don Jr. going to get indicted? Just the pattern is suggestive that maybe all three of those people can get indicted. Or
anyone who's a subject of an investigation should worry if prosecutors don't want to talk to them, because that means that they're circling around you.
Some breaking news now out of Florida this morning. President Trump's former advisor, Roger Stone, has been arrested in a stunning FBI raid.
He was indicted as part of the Russia investigation.
The arrest took place early this morning. Right afterwards, Stone was indicted by a federal grand jury on 7 different counts. About a dozen officers with heavy weapons and tactical vests found out across Stone's lawn.
This is what happened this morning before sunrise, just before 6 a.m., when Roger Stone, longtime Trump associate and advisor, was taken into custody by the FBI.
Many lights, heavy weaponry. They were taking him away for what we now know is a pretty hefty indictment.
Could you hear Roger Stone saying anything? Was there any kind of discussion between? That's why they take all of those precautions. But what's so fascinating is that we've talked to his attorney. The attorney didn't know this was coming. Clearly, Roger Stone didn't know this was coming. You were staked out at his house. You didn't know that this was coming. Why were you there in position?
Allison, it's a reporter's instinct. The whole Russia team thought maybe something was happening. There was some unusual grand jury activity in Washington, D.C. yesterday. So we showed up at his house this morning. We were the only ones there. And lo and behold, the FBI agents did come and arrest him all.
When I pressed Corsi on whether Stone was trying to reach WikiLeaks to time the release of the emails, he gave an answer that does sound bad for Stone. And our interview is, of course, now the basis for the Washington Post story I just showed you.
Roger was essentially saying we've got this timing issue because the Billy Bush tape is going to be released, and we'd like to have Assange begin releasing emails now.
Stone said that to you?
That's my recollection.
And did you tell the Mueller folks that?
Oh, yes. That was.
And were they interested in that?
Absolutely.
Senator, whatever one thinks of Jerome Corsi, Mueller's relying on his testimony, and here you have Corsi alleging Stone wanted to influence the timing of the leaks, saying, quote, what kind of senator provides an unquestioning platform for an InfoWars 9/11 conspiracy theorist with a history of lying and then conceals established facts demonstrating the opposite? They say the tape was moved to the day of WikiLeaks publication, not as part of some coordination. Now, that's WikiLeaks responding to you on Twitter. What do you say to that?
What I say to that is it's not about me.
We cannot say for sure yet that Roger Stone was an agent or acting officially as an agent of the Trump campaign, but obviously this is big news.
Do you think, from what you've learned, that it's possible that the prosecutor's theory is that Roger Stone is the linchpin, the go-between to coordinate that release on behalf of the Trump campaign in a way that benefited them?
It's certainly a major possibility.
The president's longtime associate, guilty of lying to Congress and witness tampering and obstruction, now facing what could be significant time in federal prison.
Stone was charged earlier this year during the House of Representatives Intelligence Committee's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election.
So the bottom line here is the connection between WikiLeaks and those hacked Democratic emails. Now, Roger Stone publicly would go on Twitter before they were released and say something's coming. But then when he was asked about it in Congress as part of their ongoing investigation into Russian interference into the U.S. election, he basically said, wasn't me. It was coincidence. I was looking at public statements.
These 2 pages are the verdict sheet they handed over to the judge today. This verdict against the president's most longstanding political advisor, decision on those counts was guilty. Of these 7 felonies of which he was convicted today, the one for which he's looking at a potential 20-year maximum prison sentence is the crime of witness tampering. It was count 7 today against Roger Stone.
His plane actually just touched down here at the airport where we caught up with him ahead of sentencing day, which is scheduled for February the 6th. Now, he faces a maximum prison sentence of about 50 years.
2 people that may know what happened essentially got away with lying to Mueller and got away. And Mueller, we do not know what happened with WikiLeaks. We do not know what happened with these oligarchs because Manafort and Stone successfully thwarted this investigation. Did they shut this down too soon? Because unless there's a bunch of stuff we don't know and they're waiting to see what they're going to do with Assange. But it feels like to me they've never successfully finished that investigation. Yep.
And Julian Assange, who is in custody, is at this point not in our custody. And so, you know, if you want to finish this investigation and satisfy yourself that you know everything these guys know, you gotta get them.
He likes to talk. This is going to be hard for him. When he leaves court, you're going to be thinking he's going to really unload. Nope, he can't. The judges issued a gag order on him until he's sentenced in February. So
Stone is the 6th former associate of President Trump to be convicted on cases stemming from the Mueller investigation. Federal prosecutors recommended in a Monday night filing that Stone be sentenced to 7 to 9 years in prison for lying to Congress and witness tampering.
Stone, a longtime ally of President Trump, was convicted in November on counts including lying to Congress, obstruction, and witness tampering in a case stemming from the Mueller investigation. Some Democratic lawmakers are calling for an investigation into the DOJ's actions.
The president's longest-serving political advisor, this man right here, Roger Stone, is set to be sentenced tomorrow after being found guilty of obstruction.
My extensive knowledge of the Podesta brothers' business dealings in Russia is based on the Panama Papers, which were released in early 2016. They revealed that the Podesta brothers had extensive dealings in Russia. Now let me address the charge that I had advanced knowledge of the timing, content, and source of the WikiLeaks disclosures from the DNC.
Sentencing of one of President Trump's closest allies, Roger Stone. A U.S. District Court judge in Washington sentenced Stone today to 40 months in prison for witness tampering and lying to Congress.
On June 12, 2016, WikiLeaks publisher Julian Assange announced that he was in possession of the Clinton DNC emails. I learned this by reading a tweet on Twitter. I asked a journalist who I knew had interviewed Assange to independently confirm this report, and he subsequently did.
The go-between to coordinate that release on behalf of the Trump campaign in a way that benefited them?
It's certainly a major possibility.
We do not know what happened with WikiLeaks. We do not know what happened.